believe the money aspect of this has been great because it's pushing the sport to more people. But I think overall, the growth of the sport is getting to a point where it is getting over commercialized and it's very expensive. The world of ultra marathons has seen an extraordinary growth spurt over the last few decades, transforming a very fringe activity for a small dedicated group of endurance enthusiasts to a mainstream phenomenon that attracts thousands worldwide. This surge in popularity, however, has not been without its drawbacks, notably in the realms of over-commercialization and mass participation, which some can argue are diluting the essence of the sport. The ascent of the number of participants in ultramarathons is well documented. According to recent analysis, participation in ultramarathons has grown exponentially, with events like 100Ks and 100-milers seeing a dramatic increase in the numbers since the 1990s. This trend is not just limited to your traditional distance ultramarathons. Distances at the 100-mile, 200-plus mile have seen an extreme increase in the number of participants. The appeal of ultramarathons lies in their challenge. That's what we're doing it for. The sense of achievement and the community and the spirit they foster make them not only a physical challenge and a physical test, but also a social and psychological journey for many of us who love running ultramarathons. This growth is supported by a broader societal shift towards health and fitness and challenging oneself, the increase in leisure time, and the democratization of sports through technology and media, where social platforms and running apps have made it easier for people to track progress and join communities and gain inspiration. The whole reason I've created this channel. I have definitely participated in the growth of this sport, and I'm kind of proud of it. However, as the sport has gained traction, so has the commercialization. Major brands have started to sponsor events, and athletes, and even amateur runners, turning what was once a personal or communal challenge into a marketable product. Hence, all of us social media types around the sport. This commercialization is evident in the high entry fees for some races, the proliferation of branded gear, and the professionalization of what used to be kind of an amateur sport. While this has brought more resources and money into the sport, allowing for better organization, safety measures, and global visibility, it has also introduced concerns about the spirit of the competition. I believe the money aspect of this has been great because it's pushing the sport to more people and getting those professional athletes money. But I think overall, the growth of the sport is getting to a point where it is getting over commercialized and it's very expensive. And the commercialization can lead to an overemphasis on performance enhancing products, technology, and gear, and carbon fiber plates, poles, vests, all of the gear that go with this sport. Shoes are super expensive, and these have all been credited with helping, break records, and also which has also been criticized by some of the old school ultra marathons, saying that the new equipment, the new shoes, has not been fair to those who came before. So if you can afford the equipment, it's kind of given you an unfair advantage. And this has kind of sparked debates about the authenticity of records and the essence of endurance running, where the human spirit and physical limits are supposed to be the primary focus, not how much can you get out of a pair of shoes. It is what it is. I kind of am on the fence with it. I know some very popular old school ultramarathon runners that have set major records, complaining about the new folks coming through with the better gear. It is what it is. I think everybody that comes generationally is going to experience better technology, better training, and it is what it is. Mass participation has both positive and negative implications. On the positive side, it opens up the sport to a diverse array of participants, promoting inclusivity and the health benefits across different demographics. It's getting more people out there getting moving, regardless of why they're doing it. I think it's good that more people are moving and challenging themselves. Yet, the sheer numbers can sometimes overshadow the individual experience. Races that were once intimate community events now often resemble crowded festivals where the challenge of completing the race can be overshadowed by the logistical issues like overcrowding, environmental impacts, and less personalized support. I have heard complaints about a lot of the really big races out there turning into just a huge S show because, the aid stations are running out of food and water, and, just not having enough help in the races because they're a big money grab. And I think that is a problem. I think a lot of these races out there now are creating a money grab. They're having a very expensive, over-commercialized event to bring a lot of people in and just make money. Some of these towns that they're hosted in, it's a huge money grab for them, which is a good thing. We need people to host races. But I think there needs to be a balance on taking care of the participants and making sure they're safe. And there have been races around the world, especially in China 3 years ago, where people were more about making money for the event, for the town that they're in, than the safety, and 21 people passed away. We need to constantly balance these things and make sure that no one's taking advantage of this growth in the sport. And one of the arguments I hear quite a bit is that the influx of less experienced runners might lead to a decrease, and has led to a decrease in the average performance levels, as shown by data indicating slower average times in ultramarathons despite the increase in participation. I hear complaints on this channel in the comments all the time about people complaining that people who have no business being out there are out there. You know my feelings. I believe people should push themselves, and I think it's a learning experience. If you go out unprepared and untrained, you're going to learn from that, and then maybe you're going to come back and battle back and do something a little bit better than you did the first time training for that event. As long as you're safe and the events are safe, I don't really see a problem with that. But this scenario can frustrate seasoned athletes who see the sport becoming less about pushing personal limits and more about completing an event than actually doing something. The old marathon thing where they're all wearing their medals the next day. That does get kind of silly, where people care more about bragging about finishing something than just challenging themselves and keeping it to themselves. So let's talk a little bit about the negative effects of the sport. The negative effects extend beyond performance. There is a growing concern about the environmental footprint of these events, with mass participation leading to increased litter and damage to natural landscapes and disruption to local communities. Some of these races, I see people throwing a lot of trash on the ground, and I know the events go back and clean it up. I know a lot of events limit the amount of people that can participate. Western States 100 being one of them. They really take a look about the environmental impacts of that amount of people coming in on the trails. I think it's a good idea and a good thought to be cognizant of what the effects are, the environmental effects of what people do, the damage they do to these trails. I've run on the same set of trails for many years, and I could even see just the mass. I see the trails that a lot of people can't get to because I can run further out into the trails, and I could see how those look versus the ones that are right around the parks and the parking areas where they're really worn down. A lot of exposed roots, and then the trails are super wide where people just walked around them being wet. I do see the damage to trails, and I'm sure that's my area is not alone in that. There's also issues of health risk associated with mass participation, with more people engaging in these grueling events without perhaps the requisite preparation, like I was saying. So I see the balance that, the events can only do as much as they can. People need to look out for yourself. And I've said this on the channel. You are responsible for your safety, whether that be prepping for the race, preparing for it, making sure you have the right gear. A lot of races require a certain amount of gear. Not putting yourself at risk and those who have to come get you at risk is definitely key. So you're responsible for your own safety. The races have responsibility too, but ultimately, at the end of the day, you're responsible for it. While the growth of ultramarathons has undeniably brought more people, which I love, into the fold of endurance sports, fostering a sense of community and personal achievement, it has also introduced elements that challenge the core of the spirit of the sport. I do see that, but I don't be a hypocrite and somehow have an issue with more people coming in. I'm good with that, but I do think we need to have some checks and balances when it comes to it. The balance between maintaining the purity of ultra running as a test of human endurance and adapting to its commercial and popular growth remains a live discussion. It's definitely been one with the racing realm, the racing events, and these large companies coming in and buying up the smaller races. This is a huge thing that's going on right now, and I'm not sure if everyone out there is aware of all of what's going on. We'll be talking about that in another video. It's crucial for organizers and participants and the stakeholders to navigate these waters thoughtfully, ensuring that the essence of ultramarathons isn't lost amidst the rush of commercialization and mass participation. It shouldn't just be a money grab. It should be something that runners can come in a safe manner that is not perverting what we all love. Let me know your thoughts. I know this is going to be, it's going to spark some controversy and some discussion. So what are your opinions on the mass participation and the over-commercialization of ultra running? Please leave your comments below and we'll have further discussion. Thanks for watching.